Guys, do you like wacky stories? That's right, we're gonna look at stories that are cool and wacky. We're gonna look at two today. I'm a genius born in a family of morons. Nah. My psych. The creepiest person ever. Sorry. Overloaded. Mom, help! Oh, she's dead. I want her. It belongs to me. I Frenched my BFF and Mom sighed. Let's watch this.
Today is your interview. I'm thinking about it for days. But now you need some clothes. Yeah, you need some clothes. With softener built in, a great call. Clean, soft, and fresh, it does it all. Bold. You are bold.
Always keep away from children.
Very bold.
It's always difficult to settle down in a new city, especially when you're a teenager and the only daughter of high-ranking political officials. But little did I know that my life would change forever.
What's gonna
I'm
happen?
Rachel. Growing up, I had everything I ever needed.
What's your
We
name?
moved around different cities a lot and never settled down. When I was 14, we moved yet again. Then followed the same old cycle. I was enrolled in the top school of the new city a month late, thanks to my parents' contacts and influence. The school was full of rich kids who believed they were
Rich
better than
kids.
everyone around them.
Rich kids. What's your name?
It's always difficult to settle down in a new city, especially when you're a teenager and the only daughter of high-ranking political officials. But little believed they were better than everyone around them. I felt like a stranger around them. I had to behave
Stranger.
myself all the time, or I risked ruining the family image. I was used to
Family image.
not having many friends. Their problems seemed so irrelevant. I wasn't
Why
interested
they bully a rich kid? Well, I guess she's in the best school, so I guess
in
they're all
any of
rich.
that. I'd rather talk to someone I could share my
Rich.
feelings with, someone who understood me. I didn't know that this would
Guys, who do you think it is? Do you think it's her? Do you think it's the boyfriend? Do you think it's the dad? Or do you think it's the mom? Leave the comment in the answers.
soon change once I became friends with Amelia. She enrolled in the school 2 months late. It was obvious that her parents were quite influential. I was intrigued, but I knew better than to
Intrigued. Look at her. She's so beautiful.
ask because I didn't know how she would respond. Amelia was beautiful. She was easily the prettiest
Like me.
girl in class. I saw the reaction of the boys the first day she walked into class.
Just one thing. Boys do have mouths. That is why I am eating right now.
And they were practically drooling over her. It was obvious that the popular girls in our class were jealous of her because they were giving her a hard time. They were whispering about her and calling her bad names. But Amelia was different. In a way, she seemed
Different.
like she was like
But how different?
me. She kept to herself, never made any friends. I didn't know what her deal was. She didn't seem arrogant, but she wasn't shy either. She spoke confidently and always participated in classroom activities. I liked her. One day I saw
did?
Amelia and Jonathan in a hallway talking. Jonathan was cute and very popular. I didn't particularly like him. I could see that Amelia wasn't exactly comfortable with him either. I walked by them and I heard him forcing Amelia to go out with him. I decided to intervene. I said, "Hey, Jonathan, is
Hey, Jonathan, I think you're ugly. Get him roasted.
everything all right?"
I need some. I'm gonna eat you with some hot schmoes, like Buzz Lightyear says in Toy Story 2.
Here, he turned around and looked annoyed and said, "Yeah, how about you mind your own business? Amelia doesn't seem comfortable. Why don't you leave her alone?" I said. Jonathan looked pissed off, turned around and left.
That's a bad
I turned to
one.
Amelia and said,
Whoever you
"Hey,
are.
you all right?"
We'll call you
She said, "I don't
mean."
need you to protect me. I can take care of myself." I thought I was helping her out, but clearly she didn't seem to care much for it.
We'll
I
call
tried to
you
explain
Masha.
myself. I said, "I know you don't need my help. I was just trying to do the right thing." Amelia answered rudely, "Yeah, well, next time save it for someone else.
Okay,
I'll see you
Mia.
around." She walked away. I felt a bit hurt. It just went to show how the
You are
people in this
secretly
school were.
twins.
I promised myself that I would not interfere in anyone's business again. Almost a year went by, and I didn't speak to her at all. We would see each other in the classroom and pretended that we didn't know each other. Things changed when one day, one of the teachers asked everyone to get into pairs for a project.
Oh no, she's a rock teacher. We know she's a criminal. Lock her up, guys. Lock her up. Lock her up. This is not good. This is not good. This is not good. She's a rock teacher. She's infected me. I'm a rock star, baby. I'm a rock star. I'm a rock star, baby. I'm a rock star. I'm a rock star.
It was a nervous
baby.
moment
Come
for me because I
on.
didn't really have any friends. Amelia was the only one left in the class without a partner, and the teacher asked us to pair up. She walked up to my desk and stood there shyly, not saying anything. I knew that we were both thinking about that day the previous
That
year.
day.
Amelia said, "Hey." She paused for a moment and said, "Listen, about that day last year, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to be rude to you." I was a bit surprised. I didn't expect her to
It
talk
took
about
a
her feelings
year
so quickly and
to
openly.
apologize
I said,
to you.
"It's okay. It was a long time ago." After that, she started opening up to me. She laughed at my jokes. She had the most charming smile, and I found myself adoring her more and more.
Oh, no.
One night, as I was trying to sleep, I
right,
wondered what it would be like to kiss her. But I immediately stopped myself. This wasn't right. I pushed the thought out of my mind. One day, Amelia and I were discussing a project. Her voice was so sweet. It didn't matter what she was saying. I could listen to her all day long. "So can you do it?" she asked. I came out of my trance and simply nodded, having no idea what she was talking about, but the big smile on her face told me that I'd given her the right answer. She held my hand, and her touch was electrifying. For a few moments, we
Jesus,
stared at each
Jen.
other. Then her eyes widened with fear, and she hurried to let go of my hand. "What do we have here?" I saw a random guy come over and stand
Who's the
beside us.
random guy?
"Won't you introduce me to your friend?" he said. Before I could say anything, Amelia cut in. "She's my classmate," she said. Her voice was so cold. "Introduce your classmate to your brother, would you?" The guy stretched out his hand and I
Oh,
shook
no,
it.
they're
His
gonna
touch was
have
so
us.
stiff and rude. "Mom couldn't reach you," he told Amelia. "So I came to pick you up. Let's go." And so without a hint of resistance,
Kidnapping.
Amelia left with her brother.
She's kidnapped by her brother, and I box Sebastian in the face. New title, I box Sebastian in the face.
Not even bothering with a last look. I was left speechless and alone. After that day, I decided to keep things professional and suppress the butterflies in my stomach. But then she apologized to me and smiled, and all I could think of was our time
Oh,
together.
come on,
Amelia and I
Leah.
got closer. The project went on
I
for a
don't know,
month and a
you don't
half,
keep
and by
saying
the
you
end,
didn't
I had
see it.
started noticing a lot of strange things about her. She was very guarded about her personal space. She would flinch anytime someone touched her. She would never let anyone touch her
Oh my
bag or
God.
any of her
How
belongings.
dare you
Anytime
touch
there was a question about
your
her personal life,
pathetic
she would brush it off with an
mortal fools.
excuse. Me and Amelia had been friends for 2 months now, but I knew absolutely nothing about her. She was nice to be around, and I didn't want to push her by asking her anything
And
she
I'm a
wasn't
lesbian.
comfortable with. One day I
That's
got to
a
school
wrong
very
puppy,
early,
man.
and I saw a black car drop her off. It stayed there until she was inside the main gates, then left. Now that I thought about it, she was always the first one in class, without fail. Who was this girl? What was she hiding? By this point, I was almost
was
sure
hiding
that she
from
was hiding a
murder.
big
She's the
secret, but I had
imposter.
no idea how to find out what it was. I got really curious about what she had to hide. I walked into the classroom and almost
stalking your
didn't see.
crush.
She was sitting on a
So-
bench and gently shaking. She didn't hear me come in. I took a few steps towards her and realized she was sobbing. She was shaking uncontrollably, and for a second, I froze. I asked, "Amelia, are you okay?" She jumped up from her seat and wiped her face, but she knew that it was too late to make an excuse. I walked up to her and gave her a
I
hug.
gave
That
her
was
a
when she
smooch
completely
on
broke
her
down. And in the
mother's
middle of
soul.
sobbing, she told me the most incredible story about her life.
That this guy wins. Look at it. Oh God, you're dead. That's my foot.
life. Her parents were both members of the Secret Service, and they had forbidden her from getting close to anybody. They used to move around a
Service?
lot, constantly changing their identities so that nobody could track them. Amelia wasn't even her real name. Her real name was Samantha. She was not allowed to go on nights out or have any friends because her parents had always told her that nobody could be trusted. One time, just before she enrolled in this school, she had been dating a boy, and her parents had found out about him. The boy and his family moved away from the city in less than a week, and Sam came here. I felt sorry for her. What kind of childhood was this? I gave her another hug. I said, Samantha, don't cry. I understand. I'm here.
Gotta kill her. Sebastian. Sebastian, we gotta kill you.
For you. She said,
Wait,
please don't call me that.
Sebastian. What should we call him? We shall call him Stack. Stack.
I don't want anyone to know. I hope I can trust you with this, Rachel. I haven't told anybody in my life about this. And if this gets out, my parents will be very angry. I said, yes, you can trust me.
No,
I will never open my mouth about this. She pulled away
you.
from the hug and I reluctantly let go. She smelled so nice. We were really close. She had stopped crying and she still looked so beautiful. She looked into my eyes, gave me a small smile, and then leaned in and pressed her lips against mine. I didn't even flinch. At that moment, I knew that this was what I wanted. It felt right. I gave in completely to her embrace. After all this time of
do not do this. Why are you kissing my cheek?
confusion and nervousness, I finally knew what I wanted. I wanted to be with her. This strange, beautiful girl with her incredible story had brought it out of me, and I promised myself that I would carry her secret to the grave for both our sakes. The next day, Sam didn't show up at school. I knew something was wrong the minute I walked in and didn't find her there. The day after that, still no sign of Sam. I feared the worst, thinking that her parents had found out about us. The day after that, she showed up, but acted cold and distant, like nothing had happened between us. She ignored me when I smiled at her. Something was terribly wrong. I tried to talk to her after class, but she didn't give me a response and walked away. I was devastated. I was in love with this girl who I thought was my best friend, and the memory of that kiss was still on my mind. Was it a lie? Had I imagined it all? This went on for a few days. I couldn't imagine what had gotten into her and why she was acting this way. My questions were answered a few days later as Sam caught up with me in the hallway after gym when nobody was around. "Rachel!" she called me. I saw her hurrying towards me, whispering my name urgently. She checked around to see that nobody was looking and pulled me into a corner. "I'm sorry about that. I heard one of my mom's assistants talking to the teacher on the phone, and it seemed like they were talking about you. I didn't want them to know anything about you. If they find out about us, it won't end well. I hope you understand," she said. She gave me a swift peck on my lips, whispered, "I love you," and rushed off. I couldn't help but smile. It was real. I was even more fortunate that she loved me back. This could be a lasting relationship, but we had a long way to go before we could figure out how we were going to make this work. But for now, it was our little secret. We would steal kisses in the privacy of washrooms and empty classrooms, but nobody, and I mean nobody, could ever know about us. Then something weird happened. Sam asked me to meet up with her, and I kept thinking, date, date, date. I put on my cutest dress and went to meet her. She had told me to meet her at a coffee shop in the farthest corner of the town. It made sense as she was trying to be discreet. I arrived to find her waiting for me, more cheerful than I had ever seen her before. She got up from her seat and hugged me as I approached her. "You're glowing," I told her. She blushed. "I'm so happy we're finally away from everyone," she said, grabbing my hand tightly. "So am I," said, squeezing her hand back. I sat down with my back to a big glass window while she sat facing it opposite me. We couldn't stop smiling. She ordered us coffees. "I had to search very hard to find this place," she said. "It's one of the most out-of-the-way hidden places ever. No one will think of looking for us here." Sam beamed. "Someone's looking for us?" I gasped. "Obviously." Her eyes sparkled. "There's no way they won't notice I'm missing, but I know how to protect those I love." After those words, she looked into my eyes ever so shyly. I felt overwhelming love for her. I started, but stopped midway. She was suddenly frowning. Her happy, dreamy look was replaced with anger? "What's wrong?" I asked. She was staring over my head angrily. "I didn't know it would upset you." "We've been followed." She was practically growling. All of a sudden, she jumped to her feet. "We need to get out." She was bracing herself to run. "Who are we running from?" I asked in a low whisper. "My brother!" she yelled. And before I knew what was happening, she had grabbed my hand and we were running. We pushed our way across the cafe, except we were heading deeper into it rather than leaving through the door. "There's a secret exit at the back," she yelled back at me. Behind us, I heard the door swing open and footsteps marching in. They were here. We were out the door now and pushing our way through small alleys and back roads. We turned left here and right there. I had no idea where we were or where we were heading. I couldn't hear anyone chasing us anymore, but Sam didn't stop running. "He's not really my brother," she said, panting. "He's assigned to keep an eye on me." That made sense, but I was getting too dizzy to reply. "We need to stop," I panted. Sam stopped abruptly. While I was trying to catch my breath, I saw she was trying to hear if they were still after us. A minute later, she slumped down next to me. "We've lost them," she said. I started laughing. I felt no fear. I was with Sam, but she was sitting there with her head in her hands. "I don't think he saw your face," she muttered sadly. Why was she sad? We'd gotten away. I was psyched. We could do this. Sure, I'd have to get in shape, but that wasn't anything impossible. I went in for a hug. "Maybe this will cheer you up." I was still giddy with the thrill. Her response surprised me. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. Then my world went dark. I woke up to the smell of caffeine, sunlight on my cheek, and a hammering pain on the back of my head. I looked around. I knew this place, but what was I doing here? Then I felt something in my hand. A letter. "Dear Rachel, it is with a heavy heart that I'm writing this. The past few months have been the most beautiful time of my..."
Wait, they've been dating for months? My friend told me. I sleep talk a lot. I got this up that close to me, my sleep.
Oh no, 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 please, no.
They stole now and cry.
Life, and this is the only time when I've felt that I knew myself. My identity was always caught up in my parents' life, but you made me realize who I am and who I could be. I will always cherish you for that. But for your sake, I have to walk away. We can't keep seeing each other without any consequences. I will keep writing to you whenever I can, but I need to know that this will remain between us. You can't speak about me to anybody. Our presence in each other's lives was beautiful, but it has come to an end. I will always love you, Sam. I read the entire letter over and over. Tears started flowing down my cheeks, but I just couldn't understand why. What was this pain in my chest? And who really was Sam?
Samantha.
Hi there, my name is Clarissa, and I just turned 19. I might not be a regular teenager, but I guess we have one thing in common. We both love this channel. After dragging
I'm skipping
my from living with my toxic parents, and I didn't notice until now.
Jeez.
I went to the same high school with the other orphan teens. The school wasn't as cool as my interview at the restaurant was the next morning, so I showed him the address, and he offered to drive me there. He was quite friendly, and we spoke as though we had met before. He said his name was Jake. I told him why I came to the city, but I noticed that he moved uncomfortably and changed the subject. After he dropped me at the address, he wished me luck and drove off. Miss Lane's cousin was relieved when she saw me. She had been trying to reach me and feared I was lost or something. Anyways, I had a nice dinner and went to bed anxious for my interview the next day. At the restaurant, the senior chef asked me to prepare a dish as the first part of the interview. I didn't know many dishes, but I had gotten some ideas from YouTube, so I whipped up something. Just as it was time for her and the other chefs to taste it, the manager came into the kitchen and said, "I would like to be a part of the interview today." I almost shit my pants. No, not because the manager wanted to taste my dish, but because it was Jake. He tasted my dish and immediately told me I was hired. The senior chef tried to explain that they weren't done with the interview, but he insisted. I could tell that she wasn't happy. For the few days that followed, she spent more time complaining about everything I did than mentoring me. Once, she told me to prepare a dish I had never heard of before. I did my best, but she said, "You're never going to last here. You're not good enough." The words cut through me like a knife, and a sudden rage shot through me. I called her names, and I told her she wasn't even a great chef anyway. She first looked surprised, then she smirked. Apparently salty! It wasn't that way when I left. I knew it was the senior chef, but I couldn't senior chef on probation. The other junior chefs saw me as their hero, as they had also gone through the same ordeal, but they never had the guts to speak up. Of course, things got better, and I even became good friends with Jake. Maybe it was fate that finally smiled on me. But I'm glad that despite not getting the kind of attention and approval I craved for my parents, I have learned to prioritize my own happiness, and this has boosted my self-esteem. Now that I was fully confident, I went to see my parents. I wanted to know if they ever looked for me, or probably got divorced. They weren't divorced, but they hadn't changed either. Immediately as they saw me, they started yelling at me and saying, "You don't deserve us! Do you know how worried we were?" The old me would have felt bad, but I told them they don't deserve me either, and we hugged each other. I don't know if I'll still be visiting them again. But I wished I had done this earlier or even spoken up before things got this far. But I guess it took a while for me to accept that
gonna
no
commit
one has the
suicide.
right to mess with my mental health. Not my parents, not anyone. Cheers to freedom.
Goodbye. Wait, I ran away from home music video.
Carl had a problem. The big boss, who
Suddenly you look like a stranger, a face I knew but I must forgotten. Emotional flicker, you were my everything. We know we could have done it better. Fought for the little things we
Satan,
wanted. I
no.
know it was so good together. Still you had to let go. Oh, I wish that you hadn't pulled the trigger. Shut me down with my bitter heart. My blood is getting
Right,
thicker.
princess.
You shut me down with my bitter heart. You swam so deep into my river. Your footsteps lead everywhere I go. I never was a weeper, but I'm still holding on. We know we could have done it better. Oh, you shut me down, shut me down. Oh, I wish that you hadn't pulled the trigger. Shut me down with my bitter heart. My blood is getting thicker. You shut me down.
The
You
end.
shut me down.
Evangeline lovers, I like you. You like this thrilling story about the relationship. But although the mom never saw, dun dun dun, it was a tag. Sebastian. It wasn't even his roommate. I don't know what's going on, but I like these. And if you like this video too, smash the like button, subscribe, and hit the bell. But otherwise, Evangeline lovers, adios, amigos.